What's the line between a brutally honest friend and a toxic friend? A toxic friend takes obvious pleasure in shocking you with information they know will hurt. An honest friend directly tells you what you need to know, even if it's not what you wish to hear. I had a brutally honest friend who always told me what I needed to hear, and I really appreciated it. But she was never mean about it. She never made personal attacks on my character or abilities. And she also had excellent judgment on people and situations. A brutally honest friend, boss, colleague, whatever can be counted on to give you smart and rational advice without unnecessarily hurting your feelings. It's totally different from a toxic person whose goal is mainly to bring others down. I think the problem is too many people focus on the brutal part and not the honest part. For a lot of people, the moniker of brutally honest is just there to justify their toxicity. Your friend fortunately sounds like she's better than that. Are they brutally honest with you in public, pointing out your flaws in front of others, as if they are trying to embarrass you? Toxic. Are they pontificating about your flaws, almost as if they were saying being you wrong? Be more like me, disregarding the intricacies and differences of both of your personalities? Toxic. Do they say mean shit about their friends with you? They say mean shit about you behind your back. Is their honestly meant to build you up or tear you down? Are they someone who is willing to also tell you good things about yourself, which is also honesty? Or do they only focus on the negative? Do they take responsibility if they cross the line? Or do they not care and insist that you are being too insensitive? Because if it's any of the latter, then they are a toxic person. In the end, if you really have to ask, then you probably know the answer already. Are they someone who is willing to also tell you good things about yourself, which is also honesty? Or do they only focus on the negative? This is a core thing right here. If someone is only honest about perceived faults, then self-proclaimed honesty is just a fig leaf for being judgmental. Happy Cake Day. A non-toxic friend will respond to critical feedback that their brutal honesty is not welcome, and they will tone it down accordingly. A toxic friend will completely ignore such feedback, or worse, may even step up their behavior out of spite. The honest friend will see the feedback as reciprocated honesty. The toxic friend will see the feedback as an attack. Precisely. Brutally honest is fair and has good intentions, and should be able to tell when you don't need his opinion. Toxic is just putting you down, does not try to help you, and is inconsiderate of your feelings. Yeah, to me, it's about how productive said honesty is. If it has your best interest at heart and comes from a place of care for you, that's what is important. Honesty without tact is cruelty. Seriously. Being tactful lets the person know you have taken the time to see their position within reason and are acting in good faith. I wouldn't really be friends with someone who conducted themselves otherwise. I like the similar honesty without empathy is abuse. Likewise, honesty without compassion is brutality. You guys are all missing the bigger picture. The brutally honest friend won't always be being brutally honest. You'll have great times, laughs, and the occasional moment of brutal honesty. The toxic friends will always be toxic. Constant complaints or comparisons, twisting words or steering the conversation towards negativity, or being the center of attention. If you can't remember the last time you just had fun together, they're a toxic friend. A good measure of that is how you feel afterward. I mean, you might not feel joyous after you've gotten tough advice from a friend who loves you, but usually you'll know that they meant well and can see what they're trying to tell you. If you routinely feel long-term worse after getting advice, the giver may just be toxic. A brutally honest friend will say something and usually start with, "Look, I don't want to say this, but it has to be said," and then hit you with a brutal truth bomb. Such as, "You're a proper dick when you're drunk," or "I don't like your girlfriend. I think she is using you." These are from personal experience. A toxic friend will just say something regardless of truth or not, and have a smile on their face, and try to defend what they said, until they come out with a classic line, "Sorry, not sorry," or "I'm sorry, you're upset about what I said." I'm reading these comments and realizing I might be a kinda toxic friend, and even though I try to be a good friend I might not notice that I'm being toxic. I don't take pleasure in bad news, but I'm not very good at responding to social cues, so I think it might come off wrong. All we can ask is that you take stock and strive to improve. One can't be with you when you're happy. What the toxic friend? What do you mean? Not op. But I do believe that's what they're referring to. A toxic friend has no reason to be around you when you're happy. An honest friend is still first and foremost your friend. They'll still celebrate your victories with you. I think brutal honesty is more often an excuse on the part of the friend to justify a lack of tact. Don't blame me. I'm just being brutally honest. A good friend, or even just a reasonable human being, should generally be able to be honest and direct without being brutal. They might not, and often shouldn't, beat around the bush, but should realize that there's room for tact and grace, especially when they're saying something their friend may not like. So if someone would rather be brutally honest than tactfully honest and direct, they probably are already toxic. Exceptions apply, of course. But the only one I can think of is when tactful honesty has been tried and failed. I had a friend that prided himself on being brutally honest, had no tact whatsoever, and didn't care because he was being honest. Our friendship ended. Brutal honesty is dealt to you for your benefit. Toxicity is dealt to you for their benefit. A brutally honest friend will tell you the bad, but they'll also tell you the good. A toxic friend will only point out the bad, usually to make them feel better. Most people who self-identify as brutally honest use it as an excuse to be an asshole. I would say when anyone uses phrases like "I'm just brutally honest," I tell it like it is. I don't sugarcoat things. It's a red flag. I call myself blunt, but I also carefully evaluate what the situation is and what I need to say. I've noticed that I don't really have a lot of empathy, so I don't feel what others feel. But I do have a lot of compassion, so I want to help fix the problem. If I have advice to give, then I might give it. I also both an optimist and realist, so that helps. It comes down to intent. Both might point out some critical flaw in what a friend is doing, i.e., that choice of major is terrible. But the brutally honest one is trying to help, albeit maybe clumsily, while the toxic one is trying to be hurtful/tear down, to build themselves up/make fun for other people nearby. I second the idea of intent. I'm very honest, but I don't always choose the right way to say some things in the moment, so I end up being insulting. Or I say what I think is a compliment, only to realize by the reaction of the person that it totally did not come out the way I intended it. I always apologize once I realize I messed up in trying to convey my message. I give myself one chance to explain it better, and if, at that point, it's not going well, I shut up. That is a good policy. We all put our foot in our mouth from time to time, but as long as you genuinely care, then you're much more brutally honest than toxic also. Knowing when to quit is a vastly important and undervalued life skill. Intent/motivation. Praise in public. Constructively criticize in private, face to face. Brutally honest is meant for your own betterment. Criticism, while harsh, is meant to get you in line and make the appropriate changes because they care about you. And being nice hasn't worked. Toxicity is flat out not caring about you. Any criticism isn't meant to better yourself. It's meant to better themselves and either wanting the changes that advance their own agenda, or they revel in simply making others feel bad about themselves. Disagree on your definition of toxicity. I think that's way too narrow of a definition. I believe a part of toxicity is holding someone else in such little regard that you're willing to use them to benefit yourself and only yourself. Acceptable brutal honesty. Beth is cheating on you. Dumbus. Here's proof. Unacceptable brutal honestly. Goddamn, you have an ugly nose. You fill out the ugly tree face first, didn't you? Also, you know, everyone thinks you're ugly. That's why Beth is cheating on you. It's not her fault. You're just ugly. Why are you upset? You're being a baby. I didn't say anything mean. I was joking. You should apologize for not realizing it's a joke. Oh, you don't want to be friends with me? Well, I'll lie to your mutual friends and paint myself as the victim. Apostrophe. Toxic friends never offer positivity. Everything said is negative. And never, or rarely, phrased in a way that is constructive. Your successes are looked upon negatively and often with jealousy. Your brutally honest friend gives you a criticism and attempts to help you solve the problem they've pointed out. If it's a problem that may cause you embarrassment or public shame, they tell it to you in private, and again constructively, and offer solutions. Your brutally honest friend is also as open and honest with their praise, and should be cheering you on with your successes. Intent is the difference maker. Brutal honesty to make you feel bad equals toxic. Brutal honesty to stop you ducking up and help you improve equals friend. So I feel kinda stuffy and lame using a paraphrased principle from, allegedly, from Socrates. But this is where I draw the line. 1. Is it truthful? 2. Is it useful? 3. Is it kind? Either way, I generally steer clear of brutally honest people, because that phrase usually means I won't take responsibility for my own antagonism. Came here to say exactly this. The version I heard ages ago was, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If you can't get 2 out of 3, you shouldn't say it. A good brutally honest friend won't shy away from true plus necessary because they feel awkward or they're afraid to risk making you mad. A toxic brutally honest friend doesn't mind playing fast and lose with necessary, and doesn't even care about kind. They offer advice for improvement. A non-toxic friend focuses on the honesty. A toxic friend focuses on the brutality. A brutally honest friend will still reaffirm you, even if they're being blunt with the advice. E.g., I think you're not in the right about that situation, but I hear you when you say you felt bad, and I'm sorry you had to go through that. Whereas a toxic friend will just put you down and probably prop themselves up in the process. E.g., I think you're not in the right about that situation. I know it never do / say something like that. It's all about making sure your friend still feels valued, even if you're about to drop an unpleasant truth bomb. I'm the brutally honest friend, but I only offer advice when they ask my opinion on the matter is important for them to know, or if it's something that can be fixed in 5 minutes. Otherwise I shut my mouth. I always want nothing but the best for my friends. Most times I have had to tell them the brutal truth has been usually men related. Like one of my best friends keeps going back to the same pieces of shits who break her heart every other year that I want to kick in the balls and hate with a passion because they come back, duck things up and leave. My other best friend, only times I need to be with her is when she asks for my opinion on something. Right now it's been a lot of wedding dress shopping related things. The difference I think is definitely intention and how you go about things. I had a toxic friend who voiced her opinion for everything and put me down constantly to raise herself. If I was doing something that wasn't her way, she would make sure I knew and was spiteful about it. It's no wonder the friendship ended with her throwing tea on another friend's face and me having enough of her bull. Intentions and context. A brutally honest friend wants you to benefit long term. A toxic friend wants themselves to be heard for their benefit. Honest friend, I have to be honest with you. That sweater doesn't look great on you. Toxic friend, that sweater looks ugly on you. Nor, because socially awkward people might blurt out their message in a clumsy way. Maybe even trying to ease the sting by being comical, but flopping and coming off as abrasive. I don't think the wording makes the main difference between kind and cruel. Otherwise we're saying low social less kills equals bad person. To play with your example, I think the friend might warn you your sweater is unflattering if you were headed into a situation where it mattered, like a first date, or if asked for help picking clothes. And they'd have ideas of what looks better on you if they think everything looks bad on you because they think you're ugly. Yikes. And they tell you before you leave home so you can change. The toxic person would tell you while you were en route. so you couldn't change, and would just have your confidence sabotaged. Or they have you try on everything you own and keep saying you look gross in all of it because their goal is to make you feel insecure. The true friend, even if they are rough around the edges and say it badly, wants you to change so you can look your best and really shine. Brutally honest friends don't expect a thank you for brutal honesty. 1. Whether they are saying it to help you or boost their own ego. 2. Whether you ask them for their opinion or not. A brutally honest friend will always be there for you and will always help you to be your best self. A toxic friend just makes fun of you going through hard times and won't help you get back up. A brutally honest friend will usually only tell you about things within your control that can be improved on as it's in your best interest, whereas a toxic friend will give opinions that aren't intended to help you. E.g., brutally honest friend, I'm concerned that you've been drinking too much lately and think you should take things easy. Toxic friend, your nose is too big for your face and you have crooked teeth. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.